Hello, ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike here at Gamefromscratch, and earlier this week, Microsoft had their annual developer conference, Build, and at Build, they announced a new release of Visual Studio, specifically Visual Studio 17.10. The truth of the matter is, there's not a ton new in this release, but there are some interesting new features, so we're going to jump in and take a look at it. First, what I want you to see is, I am up to date. As of the date I am recording and releasing this video, I have the most current version, which is 17.10.0. Other than, of course, there is a development branch. That is going to be relevant to the conversation later on. I just wanted you to see that 17.10 is the newest version. So what you're going to see here, one of the newest features is something that people have been asking for years. It's a small thing, but it's going to be a game changer for some people. And that is, if you come now into Tools, Environment, Fonts and Colors, you now have the option of specifying italics, strike through, and underline. So for example, I come down here and I want to make my comments. Let's find comments, C-O-M-M. Okay, having trouble with this one. Comments right here, italicized. I go ahead, click OK, and boom, italicized comments. You're like wondering yourself, wait a minute, you couldn't do that already? No, you couldn't. Very strange that this is a new feature, but it definitely is. Now, if you're using Visual Studio for C++ development, there is a very cool new feature, and that is the ability to see memory layout of objects. So if you want to see exactly how much memory something is using up, all you do is you highlight over the said object, and you'll now notice there is this memory layout option here. So you see here, this is an 8-byte item using up, so 48 bytes, 8-byte alignment, memory layout, and you can see how that is actually laid out. Very useful, especially in the world of game development if you want to optimize your data types and usage. I do have to warn you though, you want to be very selective about the objects that you work with. So for example, if I come up here and choose Editor, I can do the same thing. So you'll see here it shows up memory layout, but you'll also see that the size here is 7 megabytes. If I say memory layout on a very large object, Visual Studio Code, or Visual Studio, sorry, is dead. So do not do that. Make sure that you only use this on smaller objects here, but you can see how your own things lay out. Obviously, it doesn't work on inbuilt types. So you see here, there's no option available there. It's only on complex types. So it's stuff that you've created like so. But anything you want to see the details of it, again, just come in and boom, and you can see the memory layout. Very useful for people that want to just optimize every single byte. Nice handy little feature right there. Another thing that they've added, and this came from Visual Studio Code's recent update, so you can see that they're actually sharing development, or at least sharing development features, is now if you hover over an image of some kind, such as this guy right here, you will actually get a preview of that image. That is definitely nice. Another neat new feature here is if you are running your code, so here, go ahead, run, hit a breakpoint, and here you can see the various different evaluations going on. I can actually take any one of these evaluations, like so, and now you've got right-click options, and you can now insert conditional breakpoints or insert trace points right there with that context menu. Nice new feature. Nothing game-changing, but a time saver for sure. And then finally, and the reason why I told you to focus on the version I have, 17.10, probably the most exciting new feature that was going to come in Visual Studio for me is seemingly not here. So what they've done is they've redesigned the attach to process. And if your work's different than mine, let me know, because I really like the update that they're talking about. I just didn't get it. So what you're going to see here, this is supposed to be themed and redesigned and streamlined and better to work with. We'll get to that when we go to the release notes in just a second. I didn't get it. I don't know why. This is definitely where they said they fixed it, and if you look at the screenshots, which we will see in just a second, this is supposed to match my theme now and be completely redesigned and more usable, because I attached to process quite a bit, and a nice updated UI for it is a nice thing. It's just for some reason, I didn't get it. So if you check that out and you got it or you didn't get it, please do let me know in the comments down below. Maybe something's wrong with my install. I have no idea, but it's in the release notes. Speaking of which, let's jump on over. All right, so here we are in the full-blown release notes. I will have these linked in the linked article down below. So we are at version 17.10. There's a lot of new stuff here. Now, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail about the other features here. I highlighted some of the things I think are cool. There's a couple other things here as well, not necessarily relevant to game development, but one thing you'll notice, and this is true with Visual Studio Code as well, Microsoft are pushing GitHub Copilot so hard. I still think this should be an add-on and not a core part of the tool, but especially for Visual Studio Code, a little bit less so for Visual Studio because it's very much a Microsoft development platform product, etc. But wow, are they ever pushing it hard. So they've done a lot of new features for GitHub Copilot, and so they've improved code reviews and pull request descriptions. On top of that, you've got commit history with GitHub Copilot. For other tooling specific to Microsoft, you now have building cloud-native apps with .NET Aspire, including templates to get you up and running with .NET Aspire fast. More Copilot, so generated breakpoint conditions, so you can use Copilot in your debugging now. .NET Counter Profiler with up-down observable counter instrumentation. So .NET Profiler in Visual Studio now introduces support for 2 innovative metrics: up-down, enabling real-time tracking of values with both incremental and decremental changes, and observable counter, which autonomously manages aggregate tools, offering customizable callback delegates for precise control. Definitely nice if you are doing .NET development there. Another thing, if you're in the world of .NET for debugging here, that's going to be quite nice, is the new GC Insights in the managed memory window. So you'll notice if you go into the memory tool, so memory usage, you could now drill into insights. One of the new categories here is going to be garbage collection insights. Now, when it comes to game development and hookups and hitches, etc., with the C# world, often it is the garbage collection. So that will show you like the pain points of it. We mentioned earlier on, you can now create conditional breakpoints and trace points from expressions. Very simple there. Just run your application in the expression window. You can right-click and that menu is now available. There is the simplified memory usage investigation tool, which gives you the show hot path only. It's a kind of a, if something is using a lot of memory, it'll streamline it down. So anything with the red right here is the problem point of sorts, and you can toggle it down now to show just the things that are causing issues. Should make debugging memory issues an easier process. And as I mentioned earlier on, attached to process dialog revamp. So this is what it should look like, and that's pretty nice. Unfortunately, it's not. So I don't know why, but for me, it doesn't. It's not been updated. No new UI, no nothing like that, which is unfortunate. So hopefully you check yours out and you get this, because I would love to have the option of actually switching into these tree views. Makes it so much easier to find the process that you're going with, and it's also nice to see that it actually uses the theme instead of blinding you like it just did a second ago. But again, for me, it did not work at all. Profile Tools Instrumentation Tool now allows targeted profiling for any executable. Then we've got Blazor debugging performance for some projects has been improved. This is actually really cool, something I would have liked from the very first day, although they have streamlined the process of loading solutions. Now, if you load a solution and you hit cancel, it will just instantly cancel and bring you to an empty solution. I like this. This is a very good development there. Microsoft Teams development tools includes a new project file that is used to organize all of the files for managing a Teams app. Very specific, not really relevant to game development. Also, if you're working with WinUI, there is a new template and getting up and started process for WinUI apps there. Additionally, if you are working C++, you can add the optional components as well. And you can dive into WinUI faster with better template selection and new unit test templates. So if you're using their new WinUI stuff, it's got better support there. With Visual Studio 2022 7.10 installer to export installed instance-wise marketplace extensions into VS-config files. So if you want to share your config out, I guess that would be. Inlaid hints for C# code in Razor files. View and address pull request comments in the Visual Studio Editor without having to change context. That's actually pretty nice. Some clean ups to their code search and navigation documentation. This is the improved readability we talked about earlier on. So now italics and strike through and underline are available as options for how to highlight code. Can't believe that wasn't there already, but yep, that was added. We saw this earlier on. Now, if you hover over any image from C#, HTML, XAML, CSS, C++, VB, or TypeScript, or in comment, it will give you a preview if the path actually resolves. And then on it goes. So it's not the biggest recommendation, the biggest update ever, but there's some nice things in here. Visual Studio updates will also now include recommended components as part of the update. So add recommended components on update, makes updating process easier. It'll detect Android emulator performance impacts faster. Linking work items to pull requests from the DevOps side of things works. You can now pin a CMake target. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We got the new layout visualization tool and then known issues. And one of the known issues is not that damn dialogue doesn't show up. So if for some reason this is fully documented, it's an updated document on how it looks. Attached to process should look like this, and frankly, it doesn't. So if yours works, let me know, and I will just, reinstall or something. But if yours doesn't work, let me know, and I'll just be miserable with you, because this is something I really would like, this new updated attached to process. Sadly, I don't have it. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is Visual Studio 17.10. Not a ton new there, but the memory layout tool for C++ developers looking into precisely do byte alignment of their data structures, that one is very nice. Once again, strong recommendation. Now that I'm at the end of the video, I will go ahead and do it. What you do not want to do is do that on a large class, such as, hey, this guy right here. So with this up, highlight, memory layout, don't do that. because I just killed Visual Studio. It's too large. It can't handle it. It doesn't do a good job. Definitely a bug and something you want to stay away from. And this is going to resolve eventually. And then if I ever try to select anything from it, it's going to crash. So a nice new feature, but it is definitely not a flawless feature. So Visual Studio 17.10, what do you think? Let me know. Comments down below. Talk to you all later. Goodbye.